I feel like people like yourself, people in general, need to share their stories and shout it from the mountaintops to reach more people as much as they can. So I think what you're doing is super important.
Thank you. I think all of that really comes to what we call the law of exposure. People don't know what they don't know, but to your sentiment, like it's all at your fingertips. Everybody that we know knows somebody with a Google search engine, right? Has social media, and you control what you take in. You become what you put inside you. If you're gonna watch trap music and gangbanging videos, then that's probably how you're gonna live your life. If you're gonna watch motivational videos and educate yourself on how to become financially savvy, or that's probably gonna become your life. We become what we take in. People are using those circumstances as excuses when they should be finding better for themselves. When are people going to take responsibility and accountability for their own life? That's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah.
I could choose to live like my mom and dad did, or I could find people that inspire me to be and do better.
This is everything they never told you about real estate with the AI queen, Carrie Soave, sharing the tech, tools, and lead gen strategies that top producers won't tell you about. Now, here's your host, Carrie.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I am joined by a guest that I met, I want to say for the first time in September in one of my favorite US cities, Nashville. He's not from Nashville. He's from another great city, Virginia Beach. And it's Mike Little. And Mike used to be in the Navy, and now he's running the #1 franchise for, what's the brokerage called again? I'm Canadian. You'll have to forgive me.
It's fine. I'd rather go see.
Yes, #1 brokerage this year. So congratulations on that, Mike. Mike is also a motivational speaker, a motivational author, a coach. He is just killing it at life right now. Mike, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so we met through Coach Burt in Nashville, and you were speaking at his conference, and it was fantastic. I met so many amazing people there. And I think the one thing I knew I wanted to do some kind of business with you. And I said, he is so great on stage. I want him to speak at my conference, even though I haven't even, I had to postpone it. Those of you guys who my listeners out there know, I had to postpone it. It was booked for the same time as Coach Burt's. We had to postpone it, and I still have not rescheduled it yet. I'm just like, yeah, it'll get there. And then hopefully Mike will come speak. He's such a great speaker. And I what drew me to him was his past and his upbringing and his life outside of real estate and coaching, because he's got such a unique and interesting story, and it can literally inspire anybody. So tell me a little bit about that, Mike.
Well, I believe you're referring to my childhood, just kind of the way that I came up. So, I was born addicted to crack cocaine. I spent the first 6 weeks of my life in NICU. When I got out of the hospital, my father left my mother. And then by the time I was 3, I ended up in foster care until I was 9. The guy that my mom had married after my father was beating her and me and my sister. So obviously she called the police on him, and it turned into us becoming state property. Then when I was 9, she managed to get me back, but then she took me from Boston, Massachusetts to Dayton, Ohio, and just kind of dropped me off to my dad that I never met. And then my dad went to prison for being an ace in a drug ring, and I got left with his ex-wife. And from that point, it was just kind of like, what can I do to get out of here? So at 17, I graduated high school early. I joined the Navy, and I left. And I came to Virginia, and I never went back. So I did 14 years. I did 14 years in the Navy, and then I ended up getting out. My previous marriage, the divorce got ugly, and some things happened, and the military didn't handle them too well. So I had to fight for my life, my dignity, my honorable discharge. And when I won, I decided to go home. So I was doing real estate part-time for almost a decade while I was full-time active duty Navy. So kind of knew what I was going to do when I decided to go home. And that was in 2019. And here we are in 2025, 7 franchises, 360 agents later. #1 franchise in the country. Now I'm a best-selling author and a paid speaker and a mindset and execution coach, and that's just what I do now.
Yeah. I love it. Like your story is so inspiring. I feel like there's too many people that were born into a situation and feel like because of it, they don't really have any kind of future that they want, right? They feel like a victim of their circumstance. And that's why I wanted you to tell this story here because there's so many people that need to hear it. My husband was one of them. So my husband came with me to the event in Nashville where we met. And he did have that mindset when I first met him
Yeah.
of I'm a victim of my circumstance. And I had to show him that none of that matters. You can do anything you want. And really, that's why I think your story is so powerful. People need to hear it.
Yeah, I think that people. So one of my favorite speakers and authors is Ed Milet, and
Mhm.
he says the things that people think disqualify them are actually what qualify them the most. He says that you're most qualified to help who you used to be.
Yes.
So people will take these things in their life and use them as an excuse forever to not do or go or be what they actually want to do. And it should be the exact opposite.
Yeah.
You should be using those things as a catapult or the ignition to your engine, if you will. That should give you the reason to go do what you want. Because why are you allowing circumstances that you didn't choose to determine your destiny? So I kind of look at it on the flip side as like, well, my father gave me an example of what not to be. My mother gave me an example of what not to be. The way the Navy handled my final hour gave me an example of leadership not to be, right? Like,
Yeah.
but you have to be strong enough and resilient enough to handle those situations and stand tall in those dark times. I understand that not everybody knows how to do that. That's why I wrote my book. That's why I'm going to write another book. That's why I speak today, right? That's why my brand is tenacity and be tenacious and to impact over impress. All of those things are how I feel like people should be living their lives, not based on circumstances that someone else put them in.
Yeah. Yeah. And would you agree? Because, I feel like people don't know what they don't know,
Oh,
which was an excuse like 10, 20 years ago, 20 years ago or more. But now in this day and age, there's so much information at our fingertips, so
absolutely.
much knowledge at our fingertips that it's really easy to get access to what you don't know, to educate yourself and come and because there's two paths that everybody can take,
Yeah,
especially when they come from a situation and a childhood like yours, right?
absolutely.
And I meet so many people who don't know that there's better and that there's any other option other than the life they're living because that's all they've ever seen. And I feel like people like yourself, people like my husband, people like in general need to share their stories and shout it from the mountaintops to reach more people as much as they can. So I think what you're doing is super important.
Thank you. I think all of that really comes to what we call the law of exposure, right?
Uh-huh.
So, people don't know what they don't know, but to your sentiment, like it's all at your fingertips. Everybody that we know knows somebody with a Google search engine, right?
Yeah.
Everybody that we know has social media and you control what you take in, right? So
Mhm.
for me, it's just you become what you put inside you. So if you're gonna watch, trap music and gangbanging videos, then that's probably how you're gonna live your life. If
Yeah.
you're gonna watch motivational videos and educate yourself on how to become financially savvy or run a business, then that's probably gonna become your life, right? Like we become what we take in. So I just think that people are using those circumstances as excuses when they should be finding better for themselves. Like, when are people going to take responsibility and accountability for their own life? That's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah.
I could choose to live like my mom and dad did, or I could find people that inspire me to be and do better, like Michael Burr, like Ed Milet, like Andy Frisella, like, I could keep going, Jim Rohn, Les Brown, all these people that I decided that's what I was going to put in my ears and put in front of my eyes instead of heroin addicts and crackheads and Section 8 housing. And, like I didn't want to live that life. So when are you going to take the responsibility for how you want to live your life? Because you're in control of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know where I was during your speech, but I didn't know that you were in the Navy. Like, where the hell was I when you were on stage? But I found that so interesting and it all makes sense. Now, not many people know this, and this is actually going to probably shock a lot of my listeners, but I tried to join the Army. I was in, I tried to. Canadian Army, guys, Canadian. Okay. And I was in school for pharmacy and I was not enjoying it. And it came time for my clinicals and I knew I did not want to do this for a living. So I walked into the Army recruitment office in Hamilton, Ontario, and I'm like, I want to join. And they're like, great. What are you doing? And I told them, and they're like, you can come in as that, it's as an officer or something. I can't remember. I'm like, no, I kind of want to learn how to blow shit up, right? I'm like, I want to learn how to fly. I want to do all the fun stuff. And they were just looking at me like, but we could really use your skill set. And I'm like, oh. So I go home, I tell my parents about it. I think I'm like 20. This is my third time in college at this point. So I'm in my mid 20s, by the way. And my mom is panicking. And my dad turns to her and he says, don't worry. They have psychological tests to keep people like our daughter out of the Army. I know, right? I'm like, what is happening here? I think it was just a joke, but obviously, I didn't end up going, but I thought I would, the Army is different in the US. In Canada, it's full of opportunity. Like, by joining the military in Canada, you have the opportunity to get an education you may not have ever had. Right? So is it that the same in the US?
Yeah, they have. Well, when I was in, it was called the GI Bill, and then it changed to something else. But yes, they offer assistance with your education. They typically will pay for really whatever you can knock out in a certain amount of time or up to a certain budget.
Awesome. And would you say that your experience in the Navy, which by the way, very cool, the Navy, I think of like Navy SEALs, which are super hot guys, but would you say that your experience there really built the foundation for running a successful brokerage, like with the
Absolutely.
structure and
Yes.
systems and SOP, like all of that stuff, right? Would you say that?
There's no question. I mean, my time in the Navy definitely honed my leadership skills. It gave me structure, time management, standard operating procedures that you just referred to, and really just performing in a stressful situation. Like,
Yes.
when you're on deployment or serving in a time of war and your job is to, I mean, really fix the aircraft that are dropping bombs on people, it makes running a real estate firm look like peanuts.
I know.
If you're in charge of 300 or 400 people on an aircraft carrier, it's a little more stressful than being in charge of 300 or 400 real estate agents.
Yeah.
But if you apply the same principles, get up the same time every day, go to the gym every day, eat 3 square meals a day, hold everybody accountable, do for one, do for all. Like if everybody's just operating by the same standards, you're always guaranteed to be more successful.
I really, really do. Now, I'm going to bring up something. I'm not sure where you stand on AI, but I had a conversation with somebody and I call him like, he's like the grandfather of AI. That's how I look at him. Like old school computer engineer, has been working with AI before it was no code AI, which is what we have these days. And he was talking about the military being in a position now to use AI to control and guide emotions during battle, which I thought was interesting. There's actually AI available right now in a company using this in terms of making people happier. So for that purpose, like to try and help pull them out of depression. And that's great. But what do you think about that? What do you think about, it's a loaded
So,
question.
yeah, well, I mean, not really. We're all entitled to an opinion, right? So, for me personally, I would say that removes the human factor of discernment. I think that most battles and or wars are won on decisions made from the heart and not necessarily from the mind.
Mhm.
So the only thing training that AI is a human mind. Let's be real, right? It's a human that's coding it. It's a human that's talking to it or training it or giving it its commands. So I don't know that that is the proper way to handle certain decisions. I mean, I
Mhm.
think that we're removing the human factor to a degree that's like, I don't know. I just don't think that a computer will ever be able to discern certain decisions. That's like saying, hey, let's go to court for a murder. And just because AI didn't feel the emotion in the courtroom from the testimony, it's going to make the wrong decision. You see what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like I'm not against AI. Like, I think there are a lot of things that it can be used
Yeah.
for, as far as like automatic responding or sending out automated messages, or
Mhm.
even organizing things for you or helping you organize your thoughts.
Mhm.
But to go to a point where we're just removing the human emotion, the human heart, the discernment of knowing what's right and wrong, I don't think that that's the proper use, personally.
I agree. I would have to say that I think it's not a good idea because essentially it's giving one person way too much power.
Absolutely. I would agree. For
Ah,
sure. I mean, really, it can get dangerous,
yeah,
It's
and then
just
and then we're living in like a Marvel comic, you know?
right in an automated world. Yeah. So I think
I
it's
yeah.
dangerous.
I do feel like there are ways that the military can really use AI in terms of response time. Like if you look at AI, what it should be used for, and that's to analyze data, that's
I was
probably,
just going to say that
yeah,
the
right?
connection, dissemination, organization, that's all great. But
Yeah,
if we start removing the human factor altogether, the discernment of the heart and mind and what's right and wrong, what's the word I'm looking for? Like your morals, your character,
yeah,
how we make decisions. Like, I just don't feel that AI is supposed to be doing that for us.
yeah, yeah. I totally agree. Will we get to a point where AI is, thinking on its own? Yeah,
Right? Like, let's talk about job security for millions of people around the world. Like, how many people are we going to put out of house and home just because, quite frankly, people want to be lazy? Like, it's one thing to replace processes, but when you start replacing humans, now we're going to eliminate humanity. We might as well just watch iRobot and go live that life. Like, I think
right.
it's a little wild.
Yeah. But then, you look long term and like, okay, I'm not the speaker who goes on stage and tells everybody that AI won't replace them. Like, I think that it will. You know what I mean? It'll replace their current job. They will have to shift into a new role. But it's already like studies have shown it is wiping out a lot of jobs, but it's adding more jobs right now. Right now. Okay. So it's creating new opportunities. We're in the middle of a revolution, and like every single revolution that's come before completely wiped out an entire industry and sector of business, but
It's true.
then built brand new. And that's what's going to happen, right? I think that it's dangerous not to be using AI. So I'm using, did you know, Mike, you can literally build an entire company with AI? Like you don't need any employees, nothing. Like that is, that's
Yeah,
insane.
that's wild to me, because the secret to my company's success has been the people and the community, and
Yeah.
culture, and family atmosphere. So, how do you cultivate that with?
Yeah. It's a, I can realtors be removed? 100%, but there will always be clients that want the relationship, just like there will always be clients that want the automation and are comfortable with that. It's already happened. The automation factor has already replaced a lot of industries. Do you know what I
Oh,
mean? It's
yeah,
changed
absolutely.
a lot. So now, but there's still people that want that relationship, and that's fair. I think that it's dangerous for team leaders. Okay, you might not like what I'm going to say. It's dangerous for team leaders who aren't implementing it and learning at a high level. And why is because I've been practice in 3 years. I let my business go. I'm an AI consultant now. I don't have time to do everything. I refer business out. But
Yeah.
I could literally, and I've been contemplating this, walking in because I can use AI at a high level and scaling to a massive team in a very short amount of time because I can use AI at a high level. So that's why it's dangerous for team leaders and those that are top producers right now. Because historically, let's be honest, to build a team costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So if I can do it with no money invested and just my knowledge in AI, that makes it dangerous because now I can multiply and faster too, right? So that's my opinion. I know. How
Well,
about
even at the brokerage level, I mean, when we're talking about recruiting or client satisfaction ratings
yeah,
or employee satisfaction or hiring, I mean, all of those things really AI could do faster and more effectively than most humans, right? Like
yeah,
AI can call 1,000 agents in a day, whereas it might take my ISA a week or two to do that, right? So,
yeah,
and AI can also pivot and change its response to, I mean, all you have to do is train it. Hey, this is objection handling. This is the disc profile, and this is how you reply. And then it just goes and does it versus you trying to teach a human. And some of them just can't get it or they'll never understand it.
right.
Whereas AI is going to learn it and do it effectively and efficiently. So there are advantages, but it does get scary. Like at what
Yeah,
point, you know, for instance, I think we test piloted like an AI recruiting call system.
yeah,
We got some feedback. We're like, well, we can tell it's a computer, or there was a lag, or whatever. But what about when that gets refined? What about when there is no lag? What about when that computer now sounds more like a human because you gave it the guidance to change its tonality, or you changed its vocabulary? I mean,
it's already getting better, Mike. It's already
yeah,
getting better. I think that right now that's something that a lot of people are surprised that I don't agree with. I don't use AI in, replace of an ISA. I do have an AI bot that messages people. And I think there's a strong need for that because a lot of leads who don't know us personally aren't ready to get on the phone with us.
absolutely.
And it's like a nice cushion and a nice like icebreaker until they're ready. However, I think that if a human is going to get on a phone call with us, we owe it to them to be another human. I
I agree.
feel like that. So, and then when you can tell, so for my business, I almost feel like it's easier for me to use an AI caller because I'm in the AI business. So it's kind of like, what you don't have a bot? What are you talking about?
Yeah,
But for real estate, it's much different. And I think that when it is very human like and you can't tell, I think there's going to be regulations around it. That's my prediction. And there should be
I would
because
agree.
I always disclose that hi, it's Carrie's AI. That's what they say. It works for me because it's a gimmick. It's not going to work for a real estate agent.
Right.
I use it more for brand building, marketing, company building, strategy, SOPs, systems. Like I built a CEO bot that's like acts and gives advice as like one of the top CEOs in the world. And it's guiding me on how to build my business, which is crazy. That's how I like using it personally, just taking it to another level. Because look what
Yeah.
I've built, right?
Ask you a question.
Yeah.
You're an AI pro. How do you feel when you see people, they post things on social media and you see all the asterisks or all the semicolons or all the special characters, and it's like, I know what you're doing. You should probably clean that up. Like, what advice would you give those people that are kind of using it, I would say, in
Oh,
a lazy fashion? You know what I mean?
yeah, or they're using it's AI language or like cringe AI words or phrases. I see a lot of that too. You're right. It's lazy. Like this isn't like 2022, guys. This is 2024. AI has been out for a while. We've perfected the art of getting it to, I've perfected the art of getting it to talk and write like me so that, like, did you know that all of my content that's posted is generated by AI? No, because it sounds like me because it's because I've trained it. Like, but
Yeah.
would you expect anything less? Just if you're going to use it properly. Like, especially for content creation, Mike. I've built my whole business. 15 years I've been a content creator. In real estate, that's how all of my leads came from social media. I was one of the OGs, right? And we have never Me, not you, not anybody. No realtor I've ever met has ever gotten a client without there being a level of trust. And it's because they either spoke to us, met us, or the person that referred us, they trust them, right? So there's always a level of trust. And it's so much harder to generate trust digitally. You got to be careful. Like, don't fuck that up. You know what I mean? Or else you're just wasting time putting shit out there that will never bring you any business.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Right?
couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So what are you doing in your business now? Like, are you using AI? Like, what's at the brokerage, the teams, are the agents in your office?
There are definitely some agents using AI. Personally, like from the leadership team standpoint, we do use it on occasion to potentially do an outline for events, or maybe we're trying to come up with new recruiting scripts. Or I told you we did the little test run with the recruiting calls, and we didn't really like that, but it does come in handy. Like, say, I have a couple partners where English isn't really their primary language. Two of them speak Spanish more fluently than they speak English. So for people like that who are trying to succeed
Yes.
where English is the primary language, and the way that they speak is different than how we speak, so they may have to take their message and put it in there to see how it spits it out so that they can convey truly what they're trying to say to the audience. So there's a lot of that happening, and it's helped a lot of people at the company when it comes to their online presence, what they're posting, how they're talking, the
Yeah.
way that they're saying it. It's just helping them get their message across in the way that they intend versus how it's being received, because they have that language barrier.
Okay. Okay. And I feel like we need to talk later because I built some amazing tools that you recruit for your brokerage, obviously.
Yeah.
I've got some amazing tools that are like, will analyze who you need to be targeting, who's going to align with you at a deep level, and then building out like hyper targeted funnels to attract them. I'm all about attraction, Mike. Like, I know a lot of businesses, especially in the US, are about like calls, cold calling expires, calling, at FISBOs. Like, I know it's an aggressive mentality. Up here in Canada, we kind of just like put our feet up and we attract.
I'm actually personally much more about the attraction piece.
Yeah.
Actually, I am. I'm not a huge fan of just calling people that don't want to talk to me. I would rather they see how I'm portrayed in the public eye. They see what my company is doing. They see the message that my brand is delivering, and then they come to me. And those are the most loyal people too, because they're being attracted by your core values, your mission and vision, how you operate, how you function, not just based on a pipe dream that you're selling them on a phone call.
Yeah.
If you can identify with me and who and what I am, and then you come to me, it's much more likely that we're going to be able to work together. So
Yeah.
I'm with you on that, but I do agree that down here is kind of more of a I call it the New Yorkers mentality. It's like in your face, brash, like come be with me because I'm the best. Well, I'd rather just show you that I'm the best, and
Yeah.
you're going to follow suit.
Like as an agent, I think I door knocked like 2 days in my 15-year career. I did not make one cold call. I didn't even call my leads. I wouldn't even call my leads. I hired my ex to do it because I'm like, I can't do it. I don't like rejection. So I'm an attractor because I'll be damned. I'm not going to chase people that do not want to talk to me. I am going to answer people who are reaching out to me. And that's like, then you're just living your best life when you can do that, right?
Kind of like Coach Burt says, I'm only looking for people that are looking for me.
I love it. He's so great, isn't he?
He's
Oh, he just got this energy. I just love it. And I love everybody I've met through him as well. Me and my husband created like an amazing relationship with Renee. He is so solid.
Yeah, I went through his Amplify course. I enjoyed myself. You saw me speak before I went to that.
Yeah.
If you see me now, you're gonna be like, "What happened?"
Really?
He, I could speak, but now it's like it's next level. It's storytelling. He calls it the frame, the message, and the tie down. I spent those 2 days with him, and it took me to a whole different place. It was great. His
Uh,
Amplify course is phenomenal. I really enjoyed spending time with him and his son, and everybody that was in that course got something amazing out of it. It was really good.
oh, so I was going to take it. I'm still going to take it. But in November, when I connected with him after like that was the first time I was able to connect with him, I had just done 9 stages in like 5 weeks. And he's
Hmm.
like, "Come to Minnesota." And I'm like, "Can we just do it over Zoom?" And he's like, I'll take your money, but it's not gonna be the same. You need to
Yeah,
wait.
no,
Just wait." He's like, "Refresh, like
you got
recharge and come down when you're ready." I just couldn't. I was like, I just want to be with my dogs.
Yeah, I had put on my own health and wellness conference where I brought Coach Bird in to speak. I brought Travis Wallace in, Daniel Gomez, but I just felt that before I got on stage with Coach Bird,
Mhm.
I had to level up just a little bit more, you know. So I made it a point to go to Renee's, and it was phenomenal. Like I'm telling you, I don't co-sign a lot of people, all right? I don't. But the experience I had with Renee was a genuine one. It was a real one. He's got real value to give you, and I would really recommend just whenever you can go do that. It's
I'm definitely gonna do it. I'm definitely gonna do it. So, what's next for you? Because I really like what you're doing. But what's your next big goal?
so. I mean, for me personally, I my next big goal is to publish my next book. I don't want it to be. I say this. I don't want just like an Amazon bestseller. I don't really even care. New York Times, Wall Street Journal, whatever. I want my next book to tell my whole story
Mhm.
and give people hope. You know, I want my next book really to just let people know that you can do whatever you want to do in life and to stop making excuses and to stop being a victim. And, I want my next project to be the one that's like, hey, Netflix is calling. Hey, I think you're going to get a major motion picture out of this. I would say for me personally, that's my goal. And it's not for any other reason than for my kids to see it. So they
Wow.
know, you
That's a
know,
great goal. That's a really great goal. And when you're done that book and you're like, this is the book, I would love for you to send it to me because I'm friends with the CEO of a magazine that just took over Wall Street Journal's top bestseller list.
wow.
So when you're any way I could support you, like I said, Mike, I think, everybody I've met through Coach Bert so far has been so great. I'm here to support everybody however I can. And it's all life is all about relationships and connections. And let's do some business. Okay. One more question. What is the one tech tool that you cannot live without?
This might sound dumb, but it's the truth. Google Calendar. I'm so serious. I live and die by that thing. Like, if I didn't have Google Calendar, my life would be in shambles.
Right? Right? I say that if it's not in my Google Calendar, it doesn't exist. And do you know how many
Literally.
people, like Mike, you're a very busy man. I'm so busy. Like, I feel like I'm back to back on appointments all week. People book
Mhm.
me for things so far in advance. I'll tell them, I agree to do it. You got to send me a calendar invite. If
Yep.
they don't do it, I don't show up
It doesn't exist.
because
I'm the same way.
I'm agreeing to do something else in a half an hour. And like, it's like gone. You know what I mean? And I
Absolutely.
feel bad, but I'm like, guys, this is no joke.
No, I'm the same way. If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. I mean, I have too much going on. I have 2 kids. I have 10 businesses. I have a wife. My wife runs a restaurant. I have my whole leadership team that's running 7 franchises and a title company and I have a speaking and writing business. My life is in 30-minute increments. And if it's not on Google Calendar, it never existed. That's just what it is.
Yeah, yeah. Who wrote the book on time blocking? Who wrote that? Did you ever read that? It was a
Mm,
really good. I'm gonna put it in the description of this podcast. I'll figure it out.
yeah,
There
I'm
was a
trying to
really good. Yeah.
read like 50 books last year. I can't even keep up.
So my big goal is to write a book and find the time to write a book and figure out what I want to write it about because there's obviously 2 ways you can write a book. You can write a book for lead generation, which is always a good idea for real estate agents listening. Or you can write a book for yourself and your legacy and your family, right? So I'm still trying to figure out which way I want to go.
So for me, I feel like option 2 is always the best. And I say that because I wrote my first book. It became a bestseller and it's a lead generator and it gets people to my website or whatever. But, you know, I want to publish the book that tells the story that inspires people, that lets my kids know that there is a legacy attached to their family name. Because here's what I'll say. What's your book going to say about you when you're dead and gone? And that's where my vision went from. I don't want just a business card. I want a real story that the world can have forever.
I love that, Mike. So Virginia Beach, I think I need to come down and visit. Tell me about your wife. What's she like? Is she an angel or what?
She's heaven sent for sure. So she's Puerto Rican, Dominican, and Vietnamese. She has owned and operated her restaurant called Gringos at the Virginia Beach oceanfront for 20 years. She bought it when she was 19. She's just a boss. I mean, I don't really
I love that.
what else I could even say. She's just a phenomenal human. She's got a great heart. All she does is take care of people and make people happy, you know?
Oh,
So
I want to meet her. I should bring my husband down. We should go have dinner at her restaurant.
you should. It's amazing. Best tacos in the city, hands down, and margaritas.
Yes, I'm coming for the margaritas. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining me. And any way that I could support you in the future, I love what you're doing. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Just let me know when you reschedule, and I'd love to come visit Canada.
First.